All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're talking about a nutrient that works 24/7 behind the scenes, vitamin E. Think of it as the unsung hero, the personal bodyguard for every single cell in your body. So let me ask you a question. If your cells were, say, A-list celebrities, constantly being hounded by the paparazzi of cellular damage, which vitamin would you hire as their personal security detail? You guessed it, it's vitamin E. And we're about to find out exactly how it keeps them safe from all those threats. So here's the game plan. We'll start with the absolute basics. What even is vitamin E? Then we'll get into its main job as the antioxidant bodyguard. After that, we're going to follow its journey through the body, talk about that super important balance between getting too little versus way too much, and finally, we'll nail down how much you actually need every day. Okay, first things first, let's get properly introduced to our cellular protector. So what's the big deal with vitamin E? Well, for starters, it's a fat-soluble vitamin. That just means it dissolves in fat, which also means your body can store it for later. And while it's super important for things like reproduction, its real claim to fame is being an incredibly powerful antioxidant. The version our body loves the most active one, is called alpha-tocopherol. That's the one we're really talking about today. So where can you find this stuff? Well, if you're looking for the absolute jackpot, wheat germ oil is where it's at. That's the richest source by far. You'll also find a good amount in other plant oils like corn and soybean oil. Now, what's kind of interesting is that you can get it from animal sources like egg yolks or liver, but honestly, the amounts are pretty small. If you really want to stock up, plants are definitely the way to go. All right, let's get to the main event. This is where vitamin E really earns that bodyguard title. You know, whether you realize it or not, your cells are in a constant battle. I'm talking every minute of every day. They're getting bombarded by threats from pollution, from stress, even just from your body's normal processes. And the main enemy in this fight? Nasty little things called free radicals. So what are free radicals? Imagine tiny, unstable wrecking balls flying around inside your body. They're chaotic and they smash into anything they can find, your cell membranes, even your DNA. This kind of damage over time is a huge factor in aging and a whole host of diseases. And this is exactly where our bodyguard, vitamin E, steps onto the scene. Its number one job is to track down these free radicals and neutralize them before they can cause any real trouble. So, what's on this bodyguard's to-do list? It's a busy job. First, it stands guard at the cell's outer wall, the membrane, keeping it strong. It also acts like a shield for the precious DNA inside. It defends your red blood cells, which are carrying oxygen all over your body. It's also needed to make these things called prostaglandins, which help manage inflammation and blood clotting. And yeah, like we said before, it's absolutely crucial for reproduction and making certain hormones. It's a real jack of all trades. Okay, so we've eaten our vitamin E-rich foods. We've hired the bodyguard. But how does it get from our stomach to, our actual cells? Let's follow the journey. It all kicks off in the small intestine, and because it's fat-soluble, it needs to hitch a ride with fat. It gets bundled up into these little transport packages. From there, it heads to the liver, which is like the central distribution center. The liver then sends vitamin E out to all the different parts of the body that are calling for it. And any leftovers, they get sent to long-term storage in your fat tissues. But get this, here's a really surprising part of that journey. Our bodies are actually not that great at absorbing vitamin E. In fact, more than half of what you eat typically just passes right through you. It's a pretty powerful reminder that just because you consume a nutrient, it doesn't mean your body gets to use all of it. And this leads us to one of the most important lessons in nutrition: balance. You might think that with a protector this powerful, more has got to be better, right? Well, not so fast. Let's look at the risks on both ends of the spectrum. Now, the good news is, both a true deficiency and an overdose are pretty rare for most people, but they can happen. A deficiency, when it does occur, can wreak havoc on multiple systems in the body. And getting too much? That's almost never going to happen from the food you eat. It's pretty much always a problem of going overboard with high-dose supplements. So who really needs to be on the lookout for a deficiency? It almost always comes down to people with specific medical conditions that interfere with absorbing fat. Remember how we said vitamin E hitches a ride with fat? Well, if your body can't absorb fat properly because of something like cystic fibrosis or liver disease, then it can't absorb vitamin E either. And trust me, a deficiency is not something to take lightly. The symptoms are serious and they're all over the place. We're talking numbness and balance issues from damage to the nervous system, muscle weakness that can make it hard to walk. It can even mess with your vision and lead to anemia. It really shows you just how fundamental this vitamin is to keeping your body running smoothly. Okay, let's flip the coin and talk about toxicity. Getting too much. This quote from the research really says it all. You don't need to worry about the olive oil on your salad or the almonds you're snacking on. The real danger comes from taking way too many supplements. So there's actually an official tolerable upper limit for adults, and it's set at 1,000 milligrams a day. For perspective, that is a huge amount, about 67 times what you actually need. Pushing past that limit doesn't give you any extra protection and can cause things like fatigue and nausea. But the most serious risk is that very high doses can increase your risk of bleeding. It's a classic case of too much of a good thing. All right, let's bring this home and make it practical. Now that we know why we need it and what the risks are, how much of this Bodyguard do you actually need to have on payroll each day? So the official recommendation, the RDA, actually changes as we go through life. You can see a newborn only needs about 4 milligrams. That number slowly climbs until we hit our teen years and adulthood, where the standard recommendation settles at 15 milligrams a day. But look, for breastfeeding moms, the need bumps up to 19 milligrams to make sure both mom and baby are getting enough. This chart really makes it easy to see, right? An adult needs 3 times more than an infant, and a breastfeeding mom needs almost 20% more than other adults. It's just a great visual for how our nutritional needs are not one size fits all. They change based on what our bodies are doing. And that really brings us to the big takeaway here. We've learned that vitamin E is our cell's bodyguard, fighting off damage from free radicals. But we've also seen that getting it into our system isn't always easy, and that getting too much from supplements is a real danger. The goal isn't just to get enough, it's to get the right amount. Which leaves us with a really important question to ask about any nutrient. With a job this important, is more always better?